Hello everyone, it's me, JuanGamer54, back in video. Today, we are back. Yes, we are back. And today, we're going to be reacting to Game Theory Part 2 of That's Not My Neighbor. So, I'm not going to lie, That's Not My Neighbor, pretty good hit, to say the least. And we have covered it in the past, but this time, we are being treated with a Part 2 of it. So, I think it's already self-explanatory what we're going to do. We're going to be doing a reaction video on it, so you know the drill is. Sit down, sit back, relax, kick your feet up, get yourself a drink or something. And yeah, I feel like there's nothing else I need to say, so let's go.
Is this thing working? Okay, I don't have much time. In our last theory, I said that the aliens in That's Not My Neighbor were part of the DDD's plan to take over the world. That was a lie. The DDD made me say that to keep people scared, to hide the truth. The truth is, the aliens are...
Oh, they got my boy Tom.
Hello, Internet. Welcome to Game Theory, the show that needs you to stop the doppelgangers by smashing that emergency subscribe button. Quickly, before they get in. Whew. Good job. I thought we dealt with all of these guys already, but apparently I was mistaken. Because out of nowhere, That's Not My Neighbor has made a comeback. If you managed to sneak past our previous theory like a doppel getting past the doorman, let me quickly get you up to speed. In That's Not My Neighbor, we take on the role of a new doorman at an apartment building. Our job is simple. Check the IDs of our neighbors as they enter the building and make sure none of their evil doppelgangers get inside. Using an ARG document given to us by one of the characters, as well as a few dates sprinkled throughout, we were able to figure out that these doppels weren't just some evil random entities, but government creations. They were made for a secret program known as the Trojan Horse Project, run by the one and only Dr. W. Afton. Yes, he's in this game too. No, I don't like it either. Anyway, since the doppels
Of course,
were
it's always William Afton's fault.
ordinary people, and thanks to the image of the
He does get
DDD,
around
the
for some
doppelganger
reason.
detection department standing next to aliens, it seemed like the DDD were using alien technology and even their biology to make these doppels in order to replace all the regular inhabitants of the apartment building and eventually take over the world body snatcher style. The problem was, the doppels weren't exactly cooperative, and eventually some of them escaped into the real world. This forced the government to hire us to work alongside the DDD and wrangle them up. Which brings us to today and the brand new mode that has been added to the game.
Oh.
One that I was very excited for, a campaign mode. Once again, we are taking on the role of the doorman, only this time, instead of trying to last as long as possible, we had to survive 7 nights. Because FNAF has truly infiltrated every theory I do at this point. Thankfully,
Dang.
unlike FNAF, they broke away from the cryptic
At this point, it might as well be the FNAF theories next.
Crave. Lore. We've got 5 endings to unlock. More details about Dr. Afton and the DDD, and the answer to a question I didn't even know I needed. Who are the good guys in all of this? Let's just say that if you're a fan of 1950s sci-fi, you are going to love where this series is going. So get ready to dial lore on your rotary phones, theorists, because it's time for us to learn the true story of That's Not My Neighbor. As I mentioned, there are 5 different endings of this game mode. Some of them are pretty standard affairs. If you don't kill too many people, you get a job well done. If you let all the doppels in, they kill you and take over the world. It's pretty much what you'd expect. But there were a couple that gave me pause. If you were following the ARG or had watched our previous video, you'd know that Afton was the evil scientist involved in creating these doppels. And so, when he shows up in the campaign mode, you have the option to call the DDD on him immediately to get him killed. However, instead of being killed like every other neighbor in the series, right at the end of the game, he comes back, because he always comes back.
Of
Captain
course.
tells you you shouldn't have stuck your nose where it didn't belong, and then he calls the DDD agents to take you out. This ending is actually called the conspiracy theorist ending, but as our suspicions about Afton and the DDD trying to do something super shady seem to be right, we best keep our eyes open and our tinfoil hats on, because who knows what other conspiracies will also prove to be true. Although, while that part of our original theory was on the right track, what exactly Afton and the DDD's plans are with these doppels appears to differ slightly. We knew from this flashing image that this whole conspiracy involved aliens.
Yes.
Somehow. With only a single frame to go off of, we ended up speculating that the aliens and the DDD were working together to intentionally have the doppels infiltrate society. The DDD was using the nightmares from Nightmare Mode to trick us into seeing everyone as a monster, leading us to call the DDD on everyone. But when you do that to a normal neighbor, they aren't captured like the doppels. They're killed off. It seemed like the DDD wanted us to let let the Doppels in, and also wanted us to do their dirty work and get rid of the people they were impersonating. However,
Dang.
thanks to one of the game's new endings, I'm no longer sure that's the case. If you decide to call the DDD on everyone, killing all of the residents, the DDD aren't exactly pleased. Instead, the game ends with you being arrested. Or if you decide to play the game perfectly, you don't kill any residents, you let all the residents in, and you call the DDD on every Doppel, they actually give you an award. The DDD doesn't want regular citizens hurt. Sure, if you happen to mess up a couple of times, you'll get paid at the end of the week in the normal ending. That's just the cost of doing business. But
Yeah.
killing too many people will rouse suspicion. All they want is for their abominations to be returned to them. Instead of this being a conspiracy to take over the world, it's just a classic case of a government cover-up. But then, what are the Doppels for? The game takes place in 1955
Oh, come on.
after. But then, what
There
are
we
the
go.
Doppels for? The game takes place in 1955 after all. Is it just standard Cold War espionage? And if they're not doing an Invaders of the Body Snatchers parody, where do the aliens fit into all of this? Well, thankfully, it's not just new endings we got in the campaign mode. There's one other key element that
We got
shines
new
a
monsters?
UFO-sized spotlight on this particular mystery, which in turn helps us to understand what the DDD really wants. Each night, we are shown newspaper clippings that tell the story of a man named Chester Teeter. Chester used to be an ordinary farmer. That was until, according to him, he started being harassed by aliens. One night, Chester claims he saw and even shot at the aliens. Over the next few nights, the
Okay.
aliens continue to harass Chester. They circle his property. They even steal some of his cows, including his most precious cow, Lulu. 07's in the chat for our girl Lulu. Eventually,
Nah,
Chester
Lulu.
himself goes missing, only to be returned the next day. But now he's changed. According to his family, he's babbling nonsense. He claims he was abducted by aliens who sent him to the future, where he learned all about 21st century life. Now, if you've played this game before, you probably recognize Chester. He's the crazy hippie who randomly shows up at the apartment building and quizzes you about random real-world trivia. So we could easily chalk this whole story up to Chester just being a little eccentric. I mean, the design of Chester himself is a reference to The Truth, a character from GTA San Andreas, a former farmer who claims to have had interdimensional interactions with aliens. In fact, Chester's last name, Teeter, appears to be a reference to John Teeter, the pseudonym of a person online who in the early 2000s posted on message boards claiming to be a time traveler. But remember, we too were being branded a conspiracy theorist in this game for an idea that proved to be correct. So maybe we should give Chester's story a bit more credence. Plus, unlike those other characters whose close encounters of the third kind were never really verified, when you look at it, Chester's claims seem to be legit. For one, Chester describes the aliens as having large, dark eyes, which match the aliens we saw in that one
And
fight
matches
with
the
DDD.
doppelgangers
Second,
that we've been
much
dealing with.
importantly, Chester does seem to have knowledge of things that haven't yet happened. According to the calendar on the wall, this game takes place in 1955, and yet, in his quiz, he asks about The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy, which was first published in 1979, Chess
Okay.
Boxing, which was first envisioned in 1992, and even World of Warcraft, which was first released in 2004. There is no way Chester would know about any of these things unless he did, in fact, travel
And definitely
to the
not
future,
World of
thanks to the
Warcraft.
aliens like he claimed. But even if you consider all of that information as non-canon to the campaign mode because it only appears in the arcade mode, we still have one crucial piece of evidence that shows that Chester's story is true. The design on his shirt. When you see him, he's dressed in the classic hippie attire with a peace symbol right in the middle of his shirt. And that peace symbol was created by a man named Gerald Holtham in 1958. 3 years after this game takes place. Chester's story is legitimate. He was abducted by aliens right out of his field and shown the world of the future. But the question is, why? Why would aliens care to show the future to a random farmer? And again, what does this have to do with the photo of them in the DDD? Well, it's all to do with that peace symbol. Fun fact, this symbol wasn't made as a generic symbol of peace. It had a specific meaning. It was meant to represent the nuclear disarmament movement. And that ties us back to the real-world history we used in our last video. The main
Okay.
campaign takes place in 1955, the height of the Cold War. At this time, the United States and the Soviet Union had begun building up their massive nuclear arsenals. And that
Yeah.
all started 10 years earlier in 1945, the same year as the creation of the Doppelganger program in the game, and the same year that a story arose about an avocado-shaped craft landing in the desert of New Mexico, right near the location of the Trinity nuclear bomb testing site, where the US tested the first ever atomic bomb a few weeks prior. These aliens could have sent Chester anywhere or any when they wanted, but they chose to send a man from the time where nuclear bombs were beginning their development to a time where the anti-nuke peace symbol was most prominent. That cannot be a coincidence. These aliens have the ability to look
Oh, come on.
These aliens have the ability to look into the future, and so I suspect they saw the dangers of where humanity was heading with nuclear weapons. Weapons that, if used, would not only threaten all of humanity, but all life on Earth, even the cows. It's actually very similar to another classic 1950s sci-fi film, The Day the Earth Stood Still. I'm telling you, this dev loves some Golden Age era alien movies. In the movie, an alien lands on
Not gonna
Earth,
lie,
and we get
I
the
do too,
classic
but-
line,
We have come to visit you in peace.
these aliens are non-aggressive. They then warn the humans that aliens from other planets are getting concerned about humanity's aggression and their development of nuclear weapons.
It is no concern of ours how you run your own planet, but if you threaten to extend your violence, this Earth of yours will be reduced to a burned-out cinder.
I believe we are seeing the same thing play out in That's Not My Neighbor. Despite having
So the
technology
aliens
to
are the good
literally
guys?
travel through space and time, the aliens in That's Not My Neighbor don't seem to want to take over the Earth. Otherwise, they probably would have done it by now. Instead, they're just content flying around farms, abducting cows, learning about what life is like on this planet. Heck, Chester literally shoots at them, and yet instead of zapping him out of existence, they decide to capture him and send him on a journey through time to show him the ways of peace. These aliens didn't show up in 1945 to discuss helping the DDD. They came to warn the DDD about the future, trying to convince them that peace is the only way. Peace from nuclear weapons. That is what is going on in this random photo. But of course, humanity isn't great at listening. While aliens
Yeah,
coming in peace
really.
might be a common sci-fi trope, the humanity thinks
It's even
aliens are
clear in
evil
real
trope
life, let's
is
be honest.
just as common. Think about it. A super powerful race of beings comes down to Earth and say they're from the future and warn you of the total devastation your creation will cause. Do you A, reevaluate your position and consider disarming your nukes for the betterment of mankind, or B, assume that the aliens are actually trying to disarm humanity in order to make you vulnerable and take over the world? Yeah, deep down I think we all know which one humanity would ultimately take. And
Of
in The
course.
Day the Earth Stood Still, that is exactly what happens. The humans end up tracking down and killing the alien that arrived on the planet to warn them. This is where the DDD's plan comes into focus. They didn't trust the aliens that wanted to remove their only means of defense in this new war, and so it would be better to strike them first. If these aliens are abducting people like Chester, then the best way to get close to them would be to get others abducted. Though it wouldn't be safe to send your own people. We don't even know if we have enough firepower to stop them. Chester shot at them and it didn't really seem to do anything. So why not create doppelgangers? Creatures indistinguishable from real humans with perfectly replicable verbal communication, regardless of language, be it English, Russian, or perhaps Blizzball, all while having an insatiable appetite for death and violence. Then, when the aliens inevitably capture one of these doppels instead of the humans they were supposed to, these doppels can study the aliens' behaviors, kill them, and report back to the DDD. That's why when you call the DDD to report a doppel, they aren't killed like the neighbors. They're captured. They're still useful. They could still be trained to be more obedient and carry out the mission they were literally born to do. It's also why,
Great.
despite nearly every character in the building having a doppel of their own, including Afton, Chester doesn't. I mean, what good is it to make a doppel of him when he's already been abducted? They've already shown him the future and, based on his shirt, convinced him to join their cause. They're unlikely to pick the same guy twice, and so a doppel of him just has no purpose. And all this time, we thought the doppels were created to spy on political political enemies and take over the world. But in fact, the Doppels were created to keep an eye on and destroy a different threat. If by threat you mean a peace-loving species that is trying to save humanity from itself. Although, much like our nuclear weapons, the creation of the Doppels came with some unintended consequences. They weren't game for our plan. They escaped, and now they are hell-bent on infiltrating society and taking over. Exactly what the DDD were afraid the aliens would do. Either way, the ending will be the same. Humans will end up destroying themselves with their own genius creations, be it the nukes or the Doppels. Or maybe, if we're lucky, the aliens will see that humanity is a lost cause and put us out of our misery. Just make sure the cows are safe this time. I can't bear the thought of losing Lulu again. But
Me neither.
That's just a theory. A game theory! Thanks for watching. And if you're looking for more...
Of course. At this point, yeah. I mean, let's be honest at this point. I mean, like, it's every single time in indie horror game, it's always people, humans, that just keep messing with forces that really no one should have been messing with. It happened with Choo Choo Charles. We got someone rich who discovered it, and instead of just leaving it alone, blocking a path, you decide that, oh yeah, we're gonna make sure that we're perfectly known. Oh yeah, we're gonna keep people in the island with no way of contacting the others. Or, you know, Eggman messing with the forces of time and Dark Gaia and chaos. And there's so much more with the indie games, like Joey Drew messing with life and death with the ink machine and such. William Afton doing stuff with Remnant. Like, god dang, can't we just have a villain that is... Like, can we not have someone who just does something normal for once? Heck, I'll take, you know, a sociopathic killer at this point. At least that's somewhat normal. Not someone literally possessing the powers of HE double hockey stick or immortal beings or something. Like, god dang. But anyways, guys, that's going to be the video. Thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you like the video so I know you guys enjoy. Comment down below what do you guys think. Obviously, it's a good thing. And after seeing FNAF basically taking the world by storm, I'm pretty sure that we're going to get a FNAF theory sooner or later. I mean, shoot, the Secret of the Mimic is going to show up, and I'm going to be honest, like, I feel like that's something I feel like Secrets of the Mimic is coming out soon. Well, we got people talking about it, and most likely information about Secret of the Mimic might pop out, so we could see a somewhat prediction theory about Secrets of the Mimic. Possibly, okay, I'm not sure. I'm just shooting at the dark here. But, yeah. Make sure to subscribe because we're trying to upload daily. This is SwanGamer54, signing off.